The broadcast is now starting and passive listening mode has been enabled for all participants. Please note that this workshop is being recorded and the recording may be shared with others. The participant list and chat are private, meaning only the speakers and moderator can see the messages and participants' names. Log out anytime if you do not wish to continue under these conditions. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a special edition of our mindsON RBQM workshop hosted by Cyntegrity's My RBQM Academy. And I'm Tamara, the Academy's Operations Manager, and I will be your host today. So get ready for an interactive and dynamic 60-minute session with live polls, engaging brainstorming activities to challenge and enhance your expertise, and a roundtable discussion to conclude the workshop. Please join me in welcoming our guest speaker, Dusan Markovic, a board-certified radiologist and Vice President Medical Affairs at ERGOMED Clinical Research. Dusan leads the global medical team and has over 23 years of experience in clinical trial oversight and management. He specializes in clinical development in oncology and rare disease, advancing innovative therapies and complex study designs. Dusan has recently co-authored 9 abstracts in oncology and presented at prestigious conferences like ASCO and ESMO. He maintains strong relationships with key opinion leaders and research institutions. Dusan, thank you very much for being here today and sharing your knowledge and experience with our valued audience. Our Cyntegrity speaker, Julien Nunes Goncalves, is a scientist by training with experience in preclinical and clinical research, marketing, and business development. He leveraged this combined expertise to overcome the common misalignments between sales and marketing teams and effectively communicate scientific content for impactful results. As Cyntegrity's RBQM solutions architect, he adeptly translates clients' need into actionable RBQM solutions tailored to each organization's needs. Okay, now we come to a brief introduction to the webinar platform for those new to our mindsON workshop series. Later in this session, I will activate a toolbar for you, and you will see an icon there with a mock and pens in this toolbar. So then click on the T in the box. Over here, you can see it. Click anywhere on the whiteboard and you can start writing. Once you are done, then click OK to submit and your input will appear on the board. So rest assured your contributions will remain anonymous. We will also run polls during this workshop, giving you various answer options. And if you have any questions or comments on the topics we will discuss today, then please use the chat box on the right and be sure to select Send to Moderators before sending your message. Finally, I will share some quick troubleshooting tips in the chat here in a minute to help ensure the best user experience. Okay, dear participants, thanks for your attention. We will now start with our mindsON RBQM workshop, Risk-Based Medical Monitoring under ICH E6R3, Supporting Patient Safety with Technology. And Julien, the stage is yours, please.
Thank you very much, Tamara. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And a special thank you also for Dusan, our guest speaker today, is joining us. Very excited to take you through this subject today, and very much looking forward to everyone's responses and participation in today's webinar as well. So with that, we'll start off just very quickly going through the agenda. So firstly, we'll be discussing really what is the role of the medical monitor specifically in light of the new ICH E6R3 revision, which is, I think, hot on everybody's lips after the recent launch. A very big topic of today will be the role of technologies as well. So how do we leverage new technologies? What has changed in the last 10, 15 years? And how do we use that information right now? Patient profiles is a big topic of today as well, which for many of you as medical monitors and in the medical monitoring area of expertise, that'll be very relevant to you all. And then, of course, the impact of artificial intelligence. You know, this is a big term that everybody's throwing around these days, but how can that impact us and how can that play a role within our daily activities? Lastly, then we'll summarize all of this up with applying AI within patient profile. So how do we then use AI within the patient profile functionality? And then we'll conclude with a few poll questions, discussions, and some final thoughts. All right, so with that, I'll hand over to Dusan to kick us off with the role of the medical monitor and how that fits into the conversation.
Thank you, Julien, and thank you, Tamara, for a very nice introduction, and welcome everyone to our webinar. And we will start our webinar with a brainstorming session with all of you. So I would kindly ask you to let us know your opinion. What has changed for medical monitors in the last 10 years? And then we will use some time to discuss those and to identify those key changes.
To write on our whiteboard, please click on the mug with the pens, next click on the T in the box, and that opens then on the screen here a text box for you to write in, and then just click OK to submit, please.
I think, Dusan, some of these are already ones that we had listed to discuss, yes. So that's really good.
This is very interesting what our colleagues are actually reporting. They are indicating technology. I am 100% sure that this is correct. Complex designs, I mean, this is a great comment. RBQM, again, this huge advancement from that part. Then remote monitor and central monitoring. I mean, the audience is actually pointing to the right direction, quality management, multiple sources of key data. So these are all really fantastic feedback. It seems that, Julien, our audience are already very much engaged. So I'm very glad to see so many very nice comments and feedback.
Yep. The one as well that I think stands out that I'm seeing a few times is just how much data is being generated by trials these days, which is certainly increased. So that's another area that we will actually be discussing today as well, very briefly.
Maybe just to mention electronic data capture system. These are so important. I'm not sure, Julien, if you recall the time we had the paper CRF. It was really time-consuming with the prior system we utilized.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Again, there is artificial intelligence as one of the comment, and also great topic for our further discussion today. More strict regulation. This is really fantastic. Everything is absolutely correct. So I'm very glad that the audience is really engaged and providing us so good examples what has changed for the medical monitors in the last 10 years.
Yep. So there's a lot of responses here. I'm trying to just see if we're missing anything. We had also discussed previously when we were preparing for this, even in terms of patient engagement, retention. That's an area as well that technology has definitely made an impact. Remote monitoring we've mentioned, integration with electronic health records is another area. You've all mentioned RBQM. So these are all fantastic, very, very in line with what we wanted to discuss as well. So Dusan, I think if you agree, let's stop the brainstorm there. And I don't know if you want to highlight any further of these.
Yeah, yes, I would like to highlight data security and privacy. Definitely change the way how our medical monitors are tackling this with this increased use of digital technologies, ensuring data security and patient privacy has been so important these days.
Yeah.
And I think we can move further. And I would like to use this opportunity to thank everyone who provided their valuable comments. So it was really very helpful.
Right. So I think for the next slide, then we'll move on to the centralized monitoring is really critical to all of this, and it's a team player activity, right? It's a collaborative activity. And for this slide, again, I'll hand over to Dusan to take us through where do medical monitors fit into the picture, and take us through a few practical examples as well.
Yeah, I would just like to highlight that it is so important to mention that risk-based monitoring is actually a team effort, involve functions from different departments within CRO, such as project management, data management, biostats, regulatory, startup, and obviously medical affairs. And each of these departments should contribute to assessing, monitoring, and acting on existing and potential risk on every stage of the study, and also should ensure to develop an adequate mitigation plan to guide functional teams to focus on risk under their responsibility. And
Dusan,
obviously, finally,
please
yes?
excuse me. Your camera is turned off. Could you please turn it back on?
Yes.
Thank you.
And I would like also to highlight the importance of escalation as appropriate to project managers and sponsor. Today, we will be describing how medical monitors are tackling this issue. In my organization, risk management process will be done on project-specific risk assessment and categorization tool. We are calling that RACT, and we will be utilizing Excel workbook, and all study risk will be tracked and managed with RACT. I would also like to stress that integration of RACT with RBQM system is essential, and I would like to highlight the importance of collaboration with organizations who are holding RBQM platforms such as Cyntegrity. As today we will be speaking about updated guideline ICH GCP E6 revision R3, which actually mandates sponsors and CROs to identify risks which are associated with critical data and critical processes. It is important to mention that not all errors require close attention, but only those that can compromise the study integrity. During the study conduct, periodically update of RACT is required and should be done at least quarterly to assess if new risk need to be added or mitigation action to previous risk need to be implemented. Also, the updated guideline clearly specified the sponsor responsibility and engagement during all of these meetings. From medical affairs point of view and for medical monitors, I would like to highlight a few key risk indicators which we are regularly following up on. So this for sure includes patient safety, then in oncology trials, tumor data issues, then protocol compliance, treatment adherence, patient enrollment, and data quality. However, I would like to provide you as an example, and this is delays in reporting adverse events or unreported adverse events, which obviously includes a serious adverse event. These are the examples of key risks assigned to medical affairs for close monitoring. Due to our close collaboration with Cyntegrity team, they are capable to provide us with the reports on sites with fewer reported adverse events compared to overall adverse events reported per site in the study. which are very important for our medical assessment and to identify the root cause why certain sites has a less reported adverse event compared to average. Mitigation action obviously is very important and should include training and retraining of safety reporting responsibility, remote medical monitoring, and review of EDC by medical monitor. And I would also like to inform you about, based on our experience, what are the common reasons for delaying in safety reporting. These might be due to site oversight, then due to lack of resources at the site, or lack of understanding or unclear definition of adverse event in our study protocol. Then we also faced sometimes with technical issues from the sites. Obviously, especially post-COVID time, workload and time constraints are very important element why this is actually happening, and also miscommunication within the study team. This is the reason why medical monitor trainings and regular contact with the sites are so important to clarify the safety reporting requirement. And I would just like to give you one of the example, disease progression for oncology trials. And in some studies, we do require to be reported as an adverse event. However, lately, I'm seeing now more and more that in oncology trials, disease progression is not anymore required to be reported as an adverse event, as this is outcome of the disease. So therefore, there is no need for reporting. So we need, as a medical monitoring team, to have very good understanding of the adverse event reporting requirement and clearly to communicate to investigator and sites. And finally, I would like to conclude with this slide about how we as a medical monitors, we are looking for unreported adverse events. Usually we are looking those in EDC. And once we identify potential issue, we are raising medical queries for clarification or directly calling the sites to provide clarification. For instance, abnormal safety lab results, for instance, grade 3, if we identify in the lab reports those issues, we actually need to clarify that. Why this abnormal lab value, for instance, is not reported as adverse event. Also abnormal vital sign, abnormal physical exam, but just to be aware, not all abnormal data should be reported as an adverse event, but only those which deem clinically relevant or clinically significant. And adverse event reporting is solely responsibility of the PI. We are here just to clarify and to mitigate any potential risk of unreporting adverse events. So actually, we are looking all of this abnormal physical exam or abnormal vital sign, abnormal lab results, but also during IMP dosing, the participants, when the IMP was either interrupted or prematurely stopped without supportive data reported on adverse event page, this will definitely trigger a medical query or a directly call to the site to clarify. And another example, if you are seeing any comments in the EDC that patient was hospitalized and there is no any supportive data that this was reported as a serious adverse event, this will indicate further follow-up by medical monitor. So this will conclude with this slide. So I will now move to the next slide. And as you can see, the title of this slide is the role of medical monitoring in centralized monitoring approach. And in the light of updated ICH-GCP guideline, there are no significant changes which directly impacting everyday medical monitors. However, the guideline is reinforcing the medical monitors about to protect patient safety, and overall to preserve the study integrity. And here are some of the key responsibility of medical monitors in that context. So we can go item by item, and then I can give you maybe a few examples. Safety oversight we already mentioned during previous slide presentation. That includes reviewing adverse events, serious adverse events, and other safety data, as our medical monitors should always think to identify what are any potential risk for participants. Then data review and analysis. This involves obviously technology and involves identifying trends, outliers, discrepancies that may indicate issue with data quality or protocol compliance. Protocol adherence is so important, and this is also one of the key tasks for our medical monitor, that the trial is conducted accordance with the study protocol, regulatory requirement GCP, and the regular at least monthly review of protocol deviation is needed, and also determine the grading of those protocol deviations, which are identified either the operational team or identified by medical monitor during regular medical data review. Risk-based monitoring, we already touch-based. Then communication and collaboration. Medical monitor is something in between clinical trial sites, sponsor, and other stakeholders, and he's connecting all of them. Medical monitor also role is to provide guidance and support site addressing any medical or scientific queries. We mentioned training and education about the protocol, how this is important, but I would like to stress that medical monitor holds also regulatory responsibility, and medical monitor ensures that the trial complies with all applicable regulatory requirements and guidelines. I will just give you an example. In ERGOMED, we have no waiver policy for eligibility criteria. So it is not allowed in ERGOMED, when investigator submitting requests to randomize the patient, and if any of these criteria are not matching the existing protocol, we as the medical monitors do not have a right to give waiver and to violate actually any of eligibility criteria. Documentation and reporting, we know how this is important to maintain the documentation during entire monitoring activities. Quality assurance, also medical monitor plays a role in a quality assurance by ensuring data is correct, is accurate, and it is following highest ethical and scientific standard. And the final point for medical monitor, this is crisis management. For instance, in event of emergency, the medical monitor is responsible for coordinating the response and ensuring appropriate measures are taken to protect patient safety and study integrity. I would just like to give you as an example, for instance, in oncology trials utilizing monoclonal antibodies, we frequently seeing infusion-related reaction and cytokine release syndrome. It is also important to mention management of these events in the protocol. But sometimes when it is happening, let's say it's grade 3, the PIs may call you immediately and ask for the guidelines. So we need to reference to the protocol requirements, but also we need to develop or actually to work on with the sponsor medical monitor to develop prophylactic treatments if these are not reported, for instance, in the protocol, in order to mitigate any potential side effects which can anyhow compromise the patient safety. All of these elements can be impacted by technology, and I would like to hand over Julien to continue the presentation.
Very much, Dusan. It takes a while to switch over, so apologies for the pause there. Yeah, so as Dusan said, the role of technologies, we'll now cover that part there. By the way, I see a few questions coming in. That's great. We'll address those at the end of the session for sure, as many as we can get to. But in the meantime, so what is the role that technology starts to play? And to begin with, we'll just do a very quick overview. You know, what are some of the main areas that have been affected? And I think we can all acknowledge that, you know, technological advancements have had a major impact on the clinical research industry in the last, I would say, 20 years, maybe more. But technology, you know, there's graph that many of us have seen that, you know, technology just, it's an exponential curve, and it's just every year the amount of power that technology has doubles, triples at the moment. It's really phenomenal, the rate at which technology is expanding. We've seen it with the likes of AI, of course, but in many other areas as well. And that, of course, has an impact on us in the clinical research industry in a very big way. So a few of the examples on the screen we've spoken about earlier, especially in the brainstorm, a few of these came up, so we're not going to dwell too long on these, but just very quickly, we'll discuss just a little bit further. You know, these are, at least in our opinion, some of the most prominent advancements that have had an impact on us in the industry. So EDC is perhaps one of the most recognized ones. It's resulted from a shift from paper-based to, digital platforms, and this has resulted in much more efficient, accurate, and real-time data collection. This has an impact on, you know, the downstream analysis as well. So how quickly can we actually assess the data, identify issues, even with regards to ePro, patient-reported outcome inputs as well. Are there any things that the medical monitors need to be aware of? And instead of it being months down the line, it's sometimes minutes or hours or days, and then you can already start to see those issues. Secondly, RBM, or risk-based monitoring. So the adoption of RBM strategies has enabled data-driven risk management, and data-driven being the key thing there. And it's one of the ways in which site visits have been optimized based on study risk factors, facilitating a risk proportionate response to clinical trial activities and also planning. So, you know, everything with regards to the ICH E6 or GCP, it's all about risk proportionality. And this is one thing we should always keep in mind as well, is that we need to put the most effort where the biggest risk is. And that's really where RBM comes into play. And a lot of what we're going to be talking about today, it's about applying effort where there's the most risk. And if you think about it, for most clinical trials, what is the thing we should pay attention to the most? It's the patient safety. So we want to make sure that we put a lot of effort in maintaining patient safety throughout the trial. AI and machine learning, that's of course a very common topic. I'm almost prepared to guarantee that you've all attended an AI webinar in recent months. How is AI affecting clinical research? How is AI going to change the world? Lots of these very dramatic webinar titles, but I guarantee you've all been part of those, and I absolutely support the way in which AI is moving. I think it's going to have a very big impact on us. One thing to keep in mind, though, is, we, especially recently in the last maybe a year or so, if colloquially, in a household conversation, if we talk in AI, we talk in ChatGPT most generally, ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, whatever the different models are. But there's more to AI than just generative AI. There's your machine learning predictive algorithms, which we'll talk about a little bit later as well. There's a lot more than just your generative AI. You've got computational models for molecule identification. You've got image analysis. There's a lot to it. And all of those have a very real impact on us in the clinical industry as well. So let's not forget about those. Very, very powerful. And I would even argue more powerful than generative AI applications. Wearables and mobile health tech, also a very big topic. I think, at least in my circles, it took a while before this took hold, but I think the benefits of wearables and mobile technology, having an ePro via the phone kind of thing, it's a very important and useful tool for, again, speedy data collection, accuracy, wearables that are configured a certain way, they can't be edited, and you're getting consistent data. This is all improved, especially remote data collection approaches as well. Moving along swiftly, decentralized and virtual trials. I think this is also a big topic that everyone's very familiar with. But here we're talking about conducting clinical trials remotely. I think this became a very real thing with COVID, but of course not just COVID. I'm based in South Africa, and in Africa in general, decentralized trials is a necessity because of the remoteness of certain health clinics, etc. And I know that's the same in other areas of the world as well. So decentralized and virtual trials, the ability to connect with patients without them having to come to the clinic is a very, very big benefit, especially for patient retention and maintaining that patient safety as well. Cloud computing, another very big topic. I think as many of you said in the beginning, the amount of data that we're dealing with is vast. So cloud computing has had a tremendous impact in centralizing the data that we collect, providing real-time access to that data, and it really just enables the collaboration across the globe when working in these trials, and also facilitating faster decision making as well. Big data analytics is kind of related to that, also related to the AI. But what we're talking about here is just really the ability to, we know that clinical trials result in large data sets, a lot of data that needs to be analyzed, and big data analytics and, AI computing power allows us to go and actually assess that data and accurately identify any trends or issues or insights that will have an impact on the rest of the trial. Then lastly, genomics and precision genomics and precision medicine. This is also a very big topic. All of these are big topics, and I think we can do a webinar on each of these, but for the sake of time, in the early 2000s, the first human genome sequence was published, and this was a very, very big deal. But we now, that was 2001, 2002. We're now 23 years on, and a lot has changed. We've had a lot of developments, and precision medicine is becoming more of a reality every single day. The ability to assess every patient and analyze exactly what do they need to produce the best result for their specific situation or disease, or what they enrolled in the trial for. Real world evidence as well is another big topic. As I said, these are all big topics, but this is really a result of leveraging data from the electronic health records, registries that are around the world, and other real world sources. And they all serve to inform the clinical research and regulatory decisions. It makes sure that we are applying decision making on real evidence, what's actually happening in the world. And I think this is a critical aspect, especially if we talk in patients. They want to know that they've had an impact on the outcome of their own disease progression and their own healing, as it were, but also on the development of clinical trials as a whole. And then lastly, natural language processing. We'll do this very quickly because we've spoken about it a lot, and we will speak about it more. But I think this is really a major topic in the last year. It's safe to, as I said, we've all attended webinars about how to use ChatGPT the best, or use this the best. How is ChatGPT going to change this, that, the other? And we're going to talk about a few different scenarios on this in a second. But really the benefit here is the ability of AI to extract clinical insights from unstructured data, things like the medical records, which we'll talk about, trial reports, study protocols, even regulatory reports. And all of this gives us the possibility to identify key trends, insights that may impact the study, the outcome, or future studies as well. So I know that's a lot to take in, and thank you for the questions that are coming in as well. So moving on, now we want to talk about one of the applications of technology specifically at Cyntegrity. And again, I'm going to hand back to Dusan for that, to talk through the patient profile module and how they've used it.
Thank you, Julien. I would like to mention that ERGOMED medical monitors have significant experience working with patient profile platform at Cyntegrity. I also used to work with patient profile. And actually I can confirm that it is a very helpful tool for the medical monitors, as first provides a summary of single patient's information, which can be easily, quickly reviewed. The patient profile advantage versus the EDC view is pretty much obvious, as all the patient data is summarized in one page versus EDC view, where medical monitor should open each and every visit to review the data. Particularly, patient profile is useful for studies involving early oncology and rare disease trials, and where we actually do not require large number of patients. So there are only a few patients so that we can revisit in details all the patient's details. The screenshot at the slide is presenting the general patient data information from patient profile, including all the patient visits at the bottom. I would just like to mark you here. And it is important for the medical monitors that the system can actually flag any data issues identified at each of these visits, for instance, missing data, so that we can immediately attend to this specific visit and to assess the relevance of the missing data. Sorry, I think I moved a little bit faster, so I need to. Yes, we are here. It is also highly beneficial in small studies in early clinical phases, like first-in-human studies and studies involving cohort assessment, when we have, let's say, 3 or 6 patients which require very close review, especially during first cycles and DLT period. These information are so essential to facilitate further study progress. During several CRC meetings, there was a clear request to present some of the data from patient profile platform for better visualization of certain patients' data, such as labs, vitals, and safety data. And you will see a patient profile platform screenshot. This slide is actually presenting the data related with medical history, adverse events, and concomitant medication pages that patients received during the study. For those who may think that there might be a gap between the data entering EDC to patient profile platform, I would just like to mention that Cyntegrity platform is updating, even if I recall Julien correctly, 8 times per day. So there is really no or very small chances that you will not be looking the actual data. All of these data presented at the slide, medical history, adverse event, concomitant medications, are MEDRA coded, which is very important for standardization. And you will see also graphical presentation of adverse events and concomitant medication. And there is a clear link between the concomitant medication administered for the management of specific adverse event. And we can monitor from the time perspective how the adverse event involves, including changes in the grading of the adverse event. So this graphical presentation, I'm very fan of presenting this essential safety data in this way, so that you can easily see, when adverse events started, when concomitant medication was introduced, and how adverse events has eventually changed in the relevant grading. Okay, we'll move to the next slide. One of the features I found most exciting is graphical presentation of lab parameters and vital signs. You will see in the screenshot at the right side of the slide a graphical presentation of lab data, which allow to monitor labs data over the time. You will see these gray zones, which indicates normal values. And these are driven by local lab normal ranges. And any value which is reported outside of this gray zone are abnormal values. So some of those abnormal values might be clinically significant. Hence, we should have corresponding adverse event reported for that specific value. However, some of those abnormal values might be clinically not relevant. Hence, they will be not reported as adverse event. Especially in cohort management studies, for instance, when we have 3 patients who are getting the IMP at a certain dose level, we are able to assess any potential safety signal. I would just like to bring you one of the example, liver toxicities, for instance, increase functional liver test, AST, ALT, bilirubin, and so on. And if it is identified in all 3 patients, and there were no prior abnormalities with liver, so we can conclude that there is a signal there which require further attention and prevention of further potential safety issues if we are going further with dose escalation. Also, I would like to stress the importance of very close coordination with Cyntegrity's team, with their project management, with IT teams, with programming support. And they are very, very responsive to guide you and to provide all the system functionality and
I'm very sorry, there seems to be an audio issue here. Julien, maybe you can continue.
Yeah, I think we just lost Dusan to it looks like signal. We'll give him a second to come back in, but he was finishing up on this slide in any case. So let's proceed, and then we can turn back to him when he gets back. So without further ado, then, so the impact of artificial intelligence then on all of this. I just want to, let's see, Dusan is connecting. Dusan, sorry, we lost you for a second. I don't know if you wanted to finish up on that last slide.
Yeah, so actually I finished, I just mentioned how this is important, you know, to utilize patient profile in these settings when we have a small number of patients involved, which require very detailed analysis of each of these patients. Julien, back to you now.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Dusan. All right, thank you then. And as I was saying, so the impact of artificial intelligence. So we want to now just summarize all of this and bring it back into the AI topic, because this is really where a lot of the attention is. So with regards to how can AI be applied within the subject of patient profiles. So before we get to that, just a very quick introduction to AI applications within clinical trials. This is by no means covering all the topics. This is probably a 1% of the applications that can be that AI can be applied in. But I think these would be of interest to those of you on the call today. In general, as I said earlier, you know, when we refer to AI, 90% of us, we're always referring to ChatGPT or similar tools. But as I said, there's a lot more to it as well. just, we sometimes forget that AI is much older than we think. The terminology came already from the 1950s when computers first started to emulate and then replace human computers, those doing the calculations. In fact, it was Alan Turing who was made famous from the movie. Now the title's just gone, but you all know which one I'm referring to. So Alan Turing coined the term machine intelligence, and that was already during the 1950s at that point. So since then, of course, AI has reached major milestones, and we've seen it considerably in the last 2-3 years, and it's now a household word. So how can this then have an impact on clinical trials? So firstly, AI-supported clinical trial design. The first, here what I'm referring to is AI playing a role in assessing previous studies, informing the design of the next studies, supporting the development of protocols, for example, is a common example, ECRF design, and many other applications. It's all about really applying AI in the development of the trial itself. How can it be structured in the best possible way? And in fact, at Cyntegrity, this is one area that we also focus in on. So stay tuned for this. Very soon, we'll be releasing an AI-supported protocol assessment tool or risk assessment tool. So looking at the protocol, looking at the information there and providing the risk assessment, as well as then the identification of critical to quality factors as well. So we'll do a webinar on that in the future, so stay tuned. Next, we have then patient recruitment. This is also, a big factor where, we've spoken already about patient recruitment is important, patient retention, and AI is again here informing the recruitment strategies. How can we recruit the right patients for the right trial to make sure that they're suitable for the trial, the retention is going to be improved, and of course that they will actually benefit from the trial as well. Next, we have then real-time data monitoring. Now, this is a really big topic as well, so we'll just touch the surface. But what I'm referring to here is AI assisting in the rapid analysis of incoming data to identify issues and trends that may have an impact on the trial and patient safety. So Dusan referred to it earlier as well. Within our system, at least, we have data refreshes almost within an 8-hour cadence, so very, very often. And that can be ramped up, of course, depending on what the needs of the clients are. But technology has allowed us to now have this near real-time data monitoring, where immediately if there's an issue, you get that alert. And of course, from a patient safety, from a medical monitoring perspective, this is very, very important as well. Next, then we have AI-assisted data review, and this is really one of the big topics of today, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this, as we'll cover this in the next slide. And then we'll go to number 5, which is predictive analytics. And again, we've covered this quite a bit. This is another area where we at Cyntegrity, we're very, very, we feel very advanced in the predictive analytics game. We've been doing it for many years now, and that's one of the key applications of our solutions, is the ability to predict where's the data going, what are the trends, what should we be aware of, and bringing this back to the ICH conversation, the GCP conversation, where should we put the most effort? Where's the biggest risk? So that's really one area that, again, stay tuned. We'll do a webinar on that very soon as well. So with that little introduction, and I do see time is going, so we'll quickly move on. This is really one of the big parts of what we wanted to discuss today, which is the AI-supported subject data review. This is an exciting development that we've had at Cyntegrity. We've partnered with Microsoft to develop a clinically trained AI model, which has the ability to evaluate clinical data, everything from protocol documentation to the data that's coming in, all the typical trial data that you would have, and in this application specifically patient subject information, subject profile information. So with that, we'll go through each of these different use cases. So if we look at the screen here, and I'm just going to turn on the pointer. All right. So we're looking here at, as I said, a data quality report sample from the RBQM portal. And what this is, it's an add-on to the patient profile or subject profile functionality, which assesses the subject data and identifies worrying trends or inconsistencies, incongruencies in the data. So for example, here, the first one, we're looking at misclassified serious adverse events. So it gives you the title of what happened as well as then the details. So if we follow this through, it's saying that instances were found where grade 3 diabetes type 1 was listed as non-serious. However, according to MEDRA, a grade 3 adverse event should automatically be considered serious due to its potential profound effects. So it's identified this issue. It's given you now the severity. This is obviously something that was marked as non-serious but is serious. That has a high severity, has a high impact on the patient potentially or on the study as a whole. And then very important, and I did see a question that came up earlier as well, how much can we trust this AI-powered data review? This is one thing we've factored in as well. And we've created an algorithm that defines the confidence of the AI model. This means that, if there's any inconsistencies, maybe this was just a typo and it's not quite sure what the output should have been, it'll give you a low confidence. But in a situation like this, where it's pretty clear cut, according to the MEDRA, grade 3 diabetes type 1 should be serious, but here it was listed as non-serious. That's pretty cut and dried, so there's a high confidence. It's highly confident that this is an issue and you need to pay attention to it. So this is one way which we factored in the trust factor. The other area as well is, you'll see a lot in our marketing materials, in the way in which we speak on these webinars. We always talk about AI supported or AI augmented. We believe that as humans, as the medical monitors, as the clinicians, you have the expertise and the experience and sometimes the gut feel that, something is not right, and you have the capability to act out on these as well. So we always have that human factor within, that human factor within the AI workflow as well. So moving forward, now that we know what's gone wrong, we can go further and look at, what's the conclusion? What's the suggestion for follow-up? So misclassification of serious adverse events can lead to underreporting. We know that underreporting, of course, is a very common and necessary KRI or key risk indicator for clinical trials. So we want to avoid that. We want to keep the underreporting low. So that is one thing that we want to be aware of. And of course, then what are the suggestions for follow-up? Immediate review by the clinical trial team of all listed serious adverse events using the latest MEDRA guidelines to ensure proper classification. So this is just one of a few examples here that we can use. Other examples would be, and very common scenarios would be, lab data inconsistencies as well. Dusan can describe more scenarios, more examples here, and I'll hand over to him in a second. But one example is that typically is found is, the lab data, the lab report grades something as a grade 1 when it should be grade 3 according to the CTCAE guidelines, etc. So these are certain things that can have very real and very serious impacts that this AI tool or AI functionality will now identify. So we're very excited about it. I hope you are too. We'd love to hear your thoughts, and we'll put this, by the way, also keep tuned. We'll do a more practical webinar in the near future where we'll actually jump into the system and do a hands-on demo. So very excited to hear your thoughts. Dusan, any final thoughts before we move on to the polls?
Actually, I was very impressed. We had a very internal meeting yesterday, and one of our colleagues responsible for data management biostats indicated one of the great achievements thanks to artificial intelligence. And actually, this is related with reconciliation of the central lab data with the EDC. Because usually the site will be getting central lab results, and then they need manually to enter the data in EDC because these two systems are not communicating. And in one of the trials, we spent more than 500 hours from operational team to really review each and every of those lab reports coming from central lab, if this is correctly transferred to EDC. And she actually, my colleague reported that last week we completed this exercise utilizing artificial intelligence to flag to us where there are discrepancies. And actually this was finished within a few seconds. So for me, this was really remarkable. And I believe that everyone at this call will have their own experience. And definitely we are voting to introduce artificial intelligence within our everyday practice. And thank you, Julien, for also presenting all of these very nice features and the novelties. We expect more to come in the following months and years. I would suggest to move to our next slide. Tamara, will you?
And actually, this would be the part where we would be interested, where we would like to do a poll with you. Unfortunately, I see that we are running out of time, and there are still so many questions here from our audience that I would like to see being addressed. For that reason, I hope you don't mind that we just skip here the polls and we come straight to the summary here, so that at the end we still have enough time to address the questions of our audience, please.
Yep, absolutely.
Yes, of course.
So I think if it's okay, Dusan, let me read out some of these questions, and I'd ask you to respond. So let's take one of the first ones here. Are the activities described today under the organization's PV department? So I'm assuming that's pharmacovigilance.
Yes.
Or is it different group?
In ERGOMED, the PV departments are a separate unit to ERGOMED medical monitors. I know in other organizations, PV and medical monitors are actually one person can do both tasks. In ERGOMED, we are separating that. So they are strictly running according to their PV processes, and ERGOMED medical monitors, we have our own SOP processes. However, there is very close interaction between medics from both sides. ERGOMED medical monitors are more looking holistically all the adverse events, including serious one and non-serious one, while the PV physician, they are specifically tackling serious adverse event processes, including regulatory reporting, obviously clarifying the serious event with the sites and so on. Okay, so this is the answer. Yeah. And we have actually a summary slide here. I think this is very important to communicate everyone who participated at this webinar, what are those take-home messages. And definitely, I will just go through all of those. Training of ICAG E6 revision R3 is so important to raise awareness of changes to the guideline by ensuring staff complete training on the revised guideline. Also, we touch-based this training during our webinar, highlighting only impact on our medical monitors, but overall, it is very important to take that training within all our organization and to guide all the steps as it was recommended with the updated guideline. Regarding simplifying process, this is actually meaning aligning activity with risk-based approach and to prioritize key processes and key data which have significant impact on data integrity. Then lean on technology. We discussed today how technology is important in our everyday work. We need, as a medical monitors, to increase reliance on technology like data visualization or RBQM platform or Power BI or any other tools your company is advancing. Another take-home message is build critical thinking. I heard that in Cyntegrity Academy, there is a lot of discussions during prior webinars about critical thinking, which is actually essential for RBQM. And you can start asking some strategic questions to you. Why I'm doing this? Does this matter? Will this impact my outcomes? So this is something I think that we need to embed in our everyday activities. Then engage with stakeholders and introduce teamwork across different functional areas. I think we already discussed that. And the updated guideline also introduced new sections about data governance and managing data security, integrity, and traceability for investigators, sponsors, but other stakeholders. It is important to focus on compliance, data health, and data integrity. And some of the lessons learned, Julien and I, we also had a brainstorming session. We believe that the updated guideline is important in the way that the data we are presenting during safety review committee, that we have full trust in that data, because our decision should be based on trustful, transparent data, and also highlighting technology which are validated to facilitate this trust. And my final remarks would be that it is recommended for medical monitors to implement appropriate technologies in their everyday work to facilitate updated GCP guidelines and to ensure data accuracy, transparency, patient safety, and study integrity. We are almost on time, Julien. What do you think?
Excellent. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of very, very good questions that came in now in the last 30, 40 seconds. So thank you all for that. We will respond to those via email. Unfortunately, there's no time now. But I think some of the questions that came in, I really like. So we'll definitely put together a report of those.
And tomorrow, I would say 2 or 3 we can still answer. That should not be an issue. For everybody who wants to stay, please do so. And you will receive the recording of this webinar here in any case, just in case you have to leave now. So I would say, yes, let's address 2 or 3 at least, please.
Okay, sure. If that's fine with us. All right, let's have a look at, I think this is a good one as well. What are the regulatory considerations that we have to consider in the patient recruitment activities with AI? Are there any particular regulations? Dusan, do you want to take a first attempt at that?
Yeah, I believe that regulations covering AI is evolving, so we will see all of these changes, because using artificial intelligence should be done within the required framework. Yeah. So I'm not sure, Julien, you are more closer to this. This is my initial thought about that.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Yes, you are correct in that. What I can add is that I know the FDA and EMA have both released some draft guidelines with regards to the use of AI. I'm not sure about the ICH just yet, but that could be my gap in knowledge here. But it is a topic that I think we all feel very strong about, that there has to be some regulatory guidance. So it is in the works, and I think there have been some drafts published already. We can share that with the audience as well. This would be also part of Cyntegrity's annual Responsible AI event, which you can all keep an eye out, where we review exactly that kind of information. So definitely stay tuned for that. And for those that ask that question, we'll respond with exactly what those guidelines are. Maybe one last one. This is a quick one, so we'll do 2. But how long does it usually take to review a patient profile manually? I think you did mention this in our discussions earlier as well.
Yeah, it is actually very fast. Usually, we are reviewing multiple patient profiles, but if you are looking on patient-by-patient basis, I think depending how many data are accumulated in patient profile, it can be done from, let's say, 30 minutes to 1 hour. We can actually take this time to, depending, how many data we need to review, because patients who just finished screening is completely different to some patients who already progresses to, for instance, 8 treatment cycles. So when you need more data, to review. But actually, this is very, very good question. Thank you for raising this question, because we are always trying to put a kind of time measurement behind the tasks. I think between 30 minutes to 1 hour to review one patient would be kind of average.
Okay, Dusan, Julien, thank you both so very much. We are out of time now. I'm very sorry. I would love to address more questions here, but as Julien already mentioned, we will come back to you and answer your questions then by email. So thank you everybody for joining our webinar here. Let me just introduce you please to our next mindsON RBQM workshop next week on Tuesday. And you will gain valuable insights into the new ICH E6R3 guidelines and can also engage actively in a dialogue with our RBQM experts, Keith and Johan. Well, thank you very much for spending time with us. I hope we see us again in the next session. Hope you enjoyed today's webinar. Again, Dusan and Julien, thanks very much. And see you then again next Tuesday.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Goodbye.